on this end.
It's recording.
Vitakai Oyasin, all my relations, hello. I am speaking with a dear friend. You know, it's interesting that people talk about Facebook friends and friends synonymously, but they're not. And I've even seen some of these, quote, Facebook friends talk about Facebook family. It's a bit of a stretch. I've met a lot of people on Facebook, and some of them I am proud to say that I've developed relationships with, and we are acquaintances. But there is one person and one person only whom I can claim has become a friend of mine via Facebook. And it's not her. No, I'm kidding. It is. This
I'm like,
is this is Nada Suleiman. She is a Muslim from Kuwait City, and she has very graciously accepted my invitation and is joining me here today. So I am going to ask her to introduce herself to you. Take it away, Nada.
I absolutely feel the same way about you, Mark. So definitely not just a Facebook friend, more like a Facebook family, an actual family member of mine. My name is Nada. I'm born and raised in Kuwait City. I'm 30 years old. I am actually Egyptian Sudani hybrid, I would like to say. And yeah, I would definitely love to have this conversation with you. It's been a while since we talked about it and we wanted to do it, but now it's finally here. So I'm happy to be here, Mark.
Thank you very much. I'm laughing because obviously your recording device is on your lap.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. And I move a lot. Sorry.
There is not an earthquake going down in Kuwait City. Don't panic.
No. Yes.
So the whole point of these conversations is I'm trying to talk to people from diverse backgrounds and points of view. It's interesting because somebody whom I met via Facebook, she backed out of it, and I'm thinking that she has a more progressive view than I do, and I've really tried to get her involved. And I said, listen, it's not an argument. We're going to share ideas. Hopefully we're going to learn from each other, but it never came through. So Nada, coming from halfway around the world, and is just reading about this and hearing about this on the news, her opinion is going to be far different from ours. If you remember, my second conversation was with a friend of mine named Sa, and Sa is from I believe it's Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Also, he's been in the States for 20 years, but he also has a very different opinion. I've noticed that a lot of Africans, a lot of Black Africans, just are not on the same page with African Americans. So another brand new, for us, for our ears, another brand new perspective on this. So Nada, could you please tell us what you know or think you know about, and I say think you know because I really don't trust any news source. What is your perspective?
Absolutely.
What is your perspective on what's going on in America right now? And you can talk about COVID if you want, but mostly I'm talking about the whole idea of cultural and ethnic relations and Black versus white. And I'll be saying this on every video. I don't believe in race, so I'm not going to be talking about the Black race. It doesn't exist. I'm talking about cultural and ethnic differences. So please.
Mm-hmm. So basically, I totally agree with you. We are not supposed to believe every and each news source that's currently out there. The facts are constantly manipulated, and we are only seeing a tiny angle of what is really going on. So the whole police brutality thing has been going on for years and years and years and years. Yeah, I'm not saying this is something that should be ignored or not taken seriously. It's completely the opposite. I'm just saying that it's such a strange time that this specific story got picked up now in this day and age to distract so many people from what is actually going on. Divide people, put them against each other. It's just strange. And it's strange that, George Floyd passed away, he was murdered, and then suddenly everybody was out on the streets. And I'm surprised that this didn't happen any sooner, but it started happening now specifically. And I wonder why. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it? Are people extremely frustrated? Is it because they're like all stuck at home and COVID-19? Is it the pressure? Like, what is really the reason? I have no answer about that. I really don't know.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I really don't know why now, but it's definitely a big distraction for something else bigger that's going on. That's my personal opinion.
So
Because,
you're saying you don't know what that bigger thing might be?
no. Do
There
you
are,
know?
even though I haven't spoken to that person I think identifies as progressive. I really thought that the conversations I've had so far, that there would be some heated discussions, and
Yeah.
there weren't. I have been surprised with the people that I've spoken to how much we agree. I have been surprised that every single person I have spoken to has said two things. It's much more beyond Black Lives Matter. It's all lives. One person actually said life matters, which I think is eloquent. I love it. And the other
Yeah.
and the other thing that everyone's agreed on is that there's only one race. And
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. But that's the people that I'm talking to are saying that. And nobody I've spoken to has been portraying this as a quote race problem or even a cultural and ethnic problem. They are portraying it as a values problem. One man who is a cousin of mine, who is a preacher of a church, portrays it as a sin problem. I think
Okay.
sin would be lack of values, or
Right.
a lack of following values, and you follow the values, and sin's not really that much of an issue. So to me, they're opposite sides of the same coin. Uh, and not to sound simplistic, but in the Judeo-Christian tradition, the Ten Commandments. If people were to follow the
Yes.
Ten Commandments,
Yes.
I don't think any of this would be happening. So help me out here, Nada, because you have you have taught me so much about humanity. Um,
You too.
I have read portions of the Quran, of course, translated. Is there anything similar to the Ten Commandments?
Of course. I mean, again, religion all comes from the same source, I believe.
Right.
So Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they are essentially the same thing told in a different way, let's say.
Okay.
Some stories are the same, some are different time. Again, definitely we have things that we should follow as Muslims, as humans, how not to hurt each other, not to lie, not to steal, not to cheat. And I think if you have these values as a person of religion or a faith,
Right.
automatically your life is better. But then again, we live in a day and age where a lot of people are removed from religion and faith and they don't believe in the divine, which is up to them, totally fine. But you must have values, like you say. You must know how to do the right thing. And I feel like in a lot of families, if you don't have that structure of faith and religion, it's kind of hard to raise your children with these values, if that makes sense. Some families do it better than others, but I think that's, like you said, that's essentially one of the problems, like how people don't have values and just they don't think of other people, they just act on feelings, um, or not even feelings, just I don't know, they just act without thinking.
I love where this conversation is going.
Really? Okay,
I
good.
do. I do.
I'm not thinking, I'm just speaking right now, so.
Well, that's great. Thank you. So I absolutely, I agree with you. If someone doesn't want to believe in the divine, you know, that's fine. I can hear my son stomping away in the background, and he's got that issue right now. I can't force this upon him. I'm just trying to
Yep.
provide the example and what that connection means to me in my life. So theoretically, from a I don't know, a humanistic point of view, from a moral point of view, and a person needs to believe what they want to believe.
Right.
It's not right to impose your values. But
Agree.
I also strenuously believe that not having a connection to the divine is what is damning not only this society, my society here in the States, but it's damning the world. Because I read about things happening in the Middle East. I read about things happening in
The
Europe.
same.
Right.
Yeah.
The lack of the connection to the divine can only lead to disaster. I think we're actually witnessing what is happening because of that. We are reaping what we sow.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
having these values, and those values, I mean, humanists speak of having profound values and being good people. And I suppose there are some that like I read about and see in the media that say, oh, okay, they're atheists, but they have a really good view on life. Ricky Gervais comes to mind. Okay. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? The comedian?
No. No.
Okay. uh, but they're few and far between. And even so, from my own experience, people that don't have that connection, don't have a set of values, a set of values becomes very fluid, and they will apply those values. Don't cheat, don't steal,
Yeah.
don't commit adultery. They will honor thy mother and thy father. They will apply those values at their whim. They
Yes,
decide who's
exactly.
worthy of those values.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going back to people like, I watched someone like Ricky Gervais, and I'm thinking seems like he's really got a good head on his shoulders, and he's really rooted, despite being a very affirmed atheist. My parents taught me something at a young age. They told it to me. My memory says that they said this particular thing to me more than anything else,
Which was?
other than "I love you." Uh, but it didn't really ring true until I was 25. What they told me is you never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Uh-huh.
And at the age of
Absolutely.
25, it's like, oh, I get it. Because my parents had all these friends that they really admired, and they would talk about them, and they say, oh, I wish I could be more like George and Mary, or Sam and Sonny, and
Yeah.
etc. Jack and Dottie. And as I got older, I found out all the problems that Sam and Sonny and Jack and Dottie and George and Mary are facing. Many of those problems were problems that were brought on by themselves, right?
Mhm.
Of their own pain.
Yeah.
Dad was a fierce alcoholic, love him to death, fierce alcoholic. Just turns out that all his good friends were, guess what? Fierce alcoholics.
Alcoholics. Yep.
So nobody that they knew and they admired and that they held up as a model of good behavior to me, none of them were worth it to me. You never
Mhm.
know what goes on behind closed doors. So Ricky Gervais may
Right.
probably putting on a brave face. This is
Right.
the image that he wants people to see. My own personal experience is if you don't have God, Allah, Jehovah, Christ, whatever,
Yeah.
you're doomed.
Can I say something here?
Please.
Because I have a lot of friends who I've known for a while who have went from one end of the spectrum to the next, which is extreme believers, Christians specifically, then extreme atheists. And again, I am extremely not judgmental, and I'm like, that's totally fine. If you sleep well at night after this, that's great. If you're happy with yourself, that's amazing. But what I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, the people who go from one end of the spectrum to the other, they try so hard to take those values away from people who are believers. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes.
Like, for example, you and I now, we have some kind of belief in faith, whatever it is. But you don't see us actively, purposely sharing that and saying you have to believe because God is great and you have to believe because, I mean, right now you and I are having a conversation, but we're not telling people this is what you should believe because we
Right.
have done the research and we know it's right. But you notice non-believers are going out of their way, Mark, out of their way to try and convert more people into their belief.
Yeah.
And I always
You're right.
wonder, why? If you're so comfortable in what you believe in, why does it itch inside to convert more people? Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
We even
crazy, right?
It is. We even have billboards and advertisements around here that say, "I'm an atheist and I vote."
Oh my God.
And I read those things and I say, "Yeah, good for
So,
you. What's your point?"
exactly. Exactly. And I'm like, congratulations. Fantastic. That's great. But you don't have to like find me, talk to me, and be like, I want to tell you, I found another piece of news that will, disassociate you with your belief, your faith. Do you want to hear about it? I can if you want to tell me about it. I'm fine with it, but this isn't going to change. It's not going to change my mind about it. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's
Absolutely.
so strange. The
And
strangest thing.
another thing, another insight that I've come to believe is that a person's relationship with the divine is between that person and God.
Yep.
So if you want to be in the Islam faith, you want to be in the Christian faith, whatever. I'm not about to say because you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. That sounds
Exactly.
insane to me.
Absolutely. And I don't want to know also the way you worship because that's between you and God. I don't care what you do. Like that's up to you. But I also see that a lot of people, like for example, I'm a Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim. I don't do every single thing I'm supposed to do. I'm not saying I'm the perfect model of that, but I'm saying that, for example, I believe in fasting. Yeah.
Right.
To me, it's something that I take extremely seriously. In this day and age, it's like, what do you mean you're fasting? Is that a joke? Oh my God, you're so old-fashioned. But why are you making fun of someone's way of connecting? That's my choice. You
Right.
know what I mean? Um, but yeah, they go out of their way to feel comfortable.
So to get back to the whole social issue
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
plaguing America right now, what we're talking about is that in more of a expansive view. Hold on a second. Wait, please wait. Hold on. I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm back. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
So anyway, um, where was I? Oh yeah, the expansive view.
Expense. Yeah,
You got a whole bunch of people telling a whole bunch of other people what to believe and how to believe it and how to conduct it, what to think, what to feel, what to believe. You have a whole bunch of other people that are listening to them to, let's say this is group A, you must believe this. So you got group B saying, yes, you're right, we must believe this, we will do whatever you say. And a lot of the people in group B used to be in what I'm going to call now group C. And group C is
right.
you do you. You believe in what you believe. I respect that. If it begins to infringe upon what I think is good, healthy behavior, then we need to sit down and talk about it. That's Group C. And it seems to me that there have been a lot of people from Group C who have moved to Group B, and they just say, yeah, you're right. And they're just following along. I honestly
Right.
believe that if this didn't happen, if the George Floyd riots didn't happen, if this trajectory didn't happen, a lot of those people who abandoned Group C for Group B would still be in C.
Yeah.
For some reason, and I haven't figured this out yet, for some reason, there's awful lot of otherwise intelligent, crafty, wise people that are making poor decisions in the interest of, I don't know, either doing what other people think is right or doing,
Yep. Yep.
trying to appear virtuous. That's something that's a phrase, a thing these days. It's called virtue signaling. It's the idea of trying to look virtuous, trying to do the right thing.
Right. Because if you don't follow what most of the people currently are doing, you are signaled out and you're weird. You have your own opinion. Oh dear God, you don't say the exact same thing the news anchor is saying. You must be wrong because the news anchor is telling me to do other things. But he's not right.
I actually noticed this years ago.
Yeah,
At the time, nobody was
absolutely.
calling it virtue signaling. I was criticizing people for jumping on the bandwagon, getting on, say, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, just to impress people. The way that I used to say it back then was, you're just jumping on the bandwagon to impress that cute hottie that caught your attention a while back. You don't actually mean
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But these days, it's not just about capturing the hottie's attention. It's about, well, if I don't join this movement, then I lose my reputation, I lose my job, I get shamed, I get people throwing bricks at me, whatever. I mean, this has happened.
Yeah.
There's
And you end up with a small group of really close friends that share your values, and the rest just is noise because, I mean, yeah, that's just the way it is these days. If you are not thinking the same way of the collective, thoughts,
yeah.
you're weird. And I think all these people, I call them plugged in. They're all plugged into the big machine, doing exactly what they are told to do, and not even sparing a few brain cells to come up with their own opinions.
Well, let me say this, and you can comment on this or not as you wish. It's perfectly clear that I am a vocal critic of the movement Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that Black Lives Matter, yeah, again, what's your point? I know they do. Of course they do. All life matters. It matters. I don't need to go out. This is virtue signaling. This is me saying I have to say Black Lives Matters for me to be approved by you. Of course they matter. Obviously. But the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm extremely critical of them. I do not like them. I think that they are exactly what society does not need. And there are a number of people. Terry Crews is a really well-known actor who's come out against them. Stevie Wonder.
Terry Crews. Okay. Stevie Wonder also is
Stevie Wonder.
against them.
Lil Wayne, the rapper. And
They're against them or with them, Mark?
Against.
Okay.
He's actually said that racism was really never something I had to deal with in my life.
Again, I mean, I'll tell you something. Racism specifically is all okay. Yeah, yes, it exists, of course, but it depends on your own personal experience. Some people go through it and some people don't. In different parts of the world. But I'm gonna disagree with you on one part.
Go ahead.
I'm not for or against Black Lives Matter, but I think they needed to come out strong and bring this again on the table and say what they needed to say because of all the social situation in the States specifically. But yes, all lives do matter. And I know you're saying, like, duh, of course Black Lives Matter, but not everyone thinks like you. There are still people, and I've seen them online, again, not personally, that, black shame, they're racist, etc., etc. Like, these people are animals, etc., etc. Like, it's really horrible. So that's why this movement needed to happen. So they will bring it to the table. But like I said, this is a bigger agenda, I think, to cover up something else. Why did it need to happen now is something I don't understand, because this has been going on since what, the 50s? I don't know, 60s?
Forever.
Forever. Exactly. Just like the same way, interracial couples are looked at, for example. My grandparents, when they got married, my grandfather is black, my grandma's white, but they're both African. She was told by her family, "Why are you marrying the black man?" Like, it was that serious, and that was probably in the 30s or something, like, back then. You know what I mean? So I've been looked at like, "Oh, what do you mean you're African? You're not black." But what do you mean I'm not black enough? So I actually face the opposite. So you can't call yourself African because you're not dark enough. But I am African on both sides.
Yeah,
I
but you
don't
see,
have to be dark.
well, of course.
Yeah.
People talk about, like you just said, the opposite, or they use this phrase reverse racism.
Yes.
It's just like
Yes.
with the whole idea of race. It just doesn't exist. Prejudice is prejudice. There's not
Yes.
the opposite. It's just the same thing
Yes.
from a
Yes.
different source.
And I think,
I can tell you that I was one of the that I've noticed. I was one of the first people around here, one of the first white guys in this area to date outside of my color. This was, and I remember specifically in one restaurant, a black waitress refusing to serve us in Philadelphia. This was back in the 80s
why?
because she didn't believe that we should be together. So, I was going
It goes
somewhere
both ways, Mark.
I was
It
going
goes
to,
both ways.
yeah, it works both ways. It seems, I have noticed that there's more and more people speaking up against. Okay, so the movement need to happen. The drawing attention to what's going on needs to happen. There needs to be some systematic reforms. For example, in some
Right.
police departments, in some police precincts, in some bureaucracies, in some districts. But Black Lives Matter has a very narrow political agenda, and they have come to the forefront of this. And so now they are saying that you have to, if you're a person of color, you have to believe this or you're not black. And
Yeah. See,
if you're white and if you don't
yeah,
believe
exactly.
this, then guess what? You're a white
You're racist.
supremacist.
Yeah.
You talk about people who are very, very obviously raving bigots. My experience is, and okay, granted, I live in Philly. It's not like I'm living in Alabama, but my experience is that there are very few of them. They're really a statistically insignificant number, and they have been ballooned. They have been the perception of them is like they're supposed to be hiding around every corner. And if you don't follow what the folks at Black Lives Matter said, then obviously you're one of them. And
Yeah.
that's absolutely not true. I have known in 2020, okay, let's just say in the last, since I moved back in Poland in 2001, okay, since I've moved back, there are very few people that I can point to say, yeah, that guy doesn't like white people. That guy doesn't like black people. There's very few. I can count them on my fingers. I might go through a few times, but I can count them.
Yeah.
The idea that there's so many words and phrases that have become in vogue just recently. They didn't used
Yep.
to be a thing
Exactly.
called white supremacists, but now it's like
Yep.
everything I read is, even when they're talking about 1,000 years ago, well, this guy was a white supremacist. Oh, he didn't think that because that word didn't exist back then. But
Mhm.
there's so few, and there's so many of us who are working toward unity. There are so many of us who are working toward peace. There are so many of us working toward a consistent system of values. And you get somebody
Yep.
coming along and just yelling and saying your values are worthless. Listen to me, otherwise I'm gonna punch you.
I have to say something. I have to say something. So, what I'm worried about now is that the world is going to be too fixated and worried about, they're literally tiptoeing around each other
Mm.
because, oh, dear God, I can say something that pisses off Mark and he will think that I'm against white people. Or it shouldn't be like that. It should be natural acceptance of one another. And like you say, if you don't believe in race, I also don't believe in race, right? I just think that people are different colors and whatever. That doesn't mean anything actually. But the thing is, if in every decision or every conversation you have, instead of fixating on these things, you actually think about being kind. And I literally mean tiny little things that you do in your life and it becomes part of who you are. That's all we need. That's it. I mean, that person is a man. And again, children are born without all of this. Naturally thinking, oh yeah, that's a man and that's a woman and that's it. Like,
Mm.
that's it. They don't see skin color, they don't see social status, they don't see money, they don't see anything. And we should go back to that. We should go back to just seeing people as being people, you know. um
Amen.
Amen. It's scary times, and I'm thinking, okay, in the future I'm gonna have a family and I'm gonna raise my kids in this world, and if we're not gonna come together and try to make and fix it, it's going to be really hard to raise children in this time. Like, really hard. Because what are you going to say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how? It's really hard.
Well, that's what I was. Thanks for reminding me. That's what I was getting to when I was talking about Stevie Wonder and Lil Wayne and Terry Crews. There seems to me a backlash against the extreme element of this movement.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm just paying more attention now, but it seems to me that there are more and more black libertarians and conservatives coming online and saying, "Whoa, wait a minute, let's think this through."
Yeah.
And you said you didn't want to get into anything political, so again, I'm just going to say this, okay? I guess Winston Churchill was known for a lot of pithy, witty sayings, and one thing that he said
Yep.
was, if you're 20 years old and not a liberal, you have no heart. If you're 40 and not conservative, you have no brain. Or maybe it was the other way around, brain and heart. But it was the idea of youth is for liberals and age
And
is
yeah,
for
for
conservatives.
conservatives.
And I think that I was always on the line. I never liked the idea.
Yeah.
I never liked the idea of putting a label on me. People ask me what I am.
Yes.
I am Mark. But I
Exactly.
absolutely have noticed that I have become more, quote, conservative over the years. And
What does that mean to you,
well, that's
Mark?
just it. That's just it. I'm getting to that. I saw something recently in a movie. It's the movie's called Uncle Tom, and it's about black conservatives interviewing other black conservatives and libertarians. And one guy, I guess, who was the focus of the movie because he was in the beginning and the end and throughout the movie, he said he was very much a liberal. And he said a friend challenged him on becoming a conservative. And you say, yeah, but I have all these liberal values. And you say, well, they're good values. But read the Democrat platform and read the Republican platform and tell me what you believe. And he came down to this, that he realized that the values, the great values that the Democrats had, were supposed to be supplied by someone else, supposed to be supplied more often than not by the government. And that if you don't
Okay.
get it from the government, raise a ruckus. And the conservative side, and this is the reason that he switched, he said that the things that all these great values that the conservatives have, many of which are the same as the liberals, are supposed to be supplied by yourself.
Interesting. Okay.
That
Is that
you
true?
that you yourself are the agency of change. And then you
Okay.
build up a network of friends and families, that you
Yeah.
help each other to grow and to change. Whereas the Democrats are saying that's the government's job.
But
That's
is
that
that true?
agency's job. So if that is a definition between liberals and conservatives, I mean,
Then that's
the difference.
okay. Yeah.
There's absolutely no doubt that I've become more conservative as I've grown older.
Because
Absolutely.
you're thinking for yourself.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I teach and preach in my therapy. I teach,
Right.
I help people to realize their innate strength. Most of
Yeah.
us, this includes me, Nada, most
Yeah.
of us forget it's there.
Yep.
There's so much static, so much chaos that we are encouraged to forget it's there. So I help. What I do is I tell clients and I tell people that I meet on the streets and neighbors, let's grab a shovel and let's start digging. Let's find it. Let's bring it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And again, I guess like you said, people tend to forget, and even me, I tend to forget that I have that in me, but you have to sometimes actively stop yourself and say, no, 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 I can actually make my own decision, or say, no, I don't want to do that, or yes, I want to do that. Like, whatever is in your power, you can make a difference. But also, very important, is not to stress about what you can't change. Like, if
Yeah,
that's something you can't change, don't stress yourself about it. I mean, it's so
yeah.
simple, you know? Um, yeah. I also don't like labeling myself. What kind of Muslim are you? Are you Sunni or Shia? I refuse to answer that question because I'm a bit of both actually. I don't believe this or that. I believe in a combination of both. Um, yeah.
There is. See, what bothers me about the Black Lives Matter narrative is there's a real push for segregation. There's a real push. I watched a video the other day with somebody in it was a student lounge in some university. I forget which university, but this black student got up and said, "Excuse me, PSA, public service announcement. There are far too many white people here for us black students to feel comfortable. Could you please go someplace else?"
Oh, wow.
And this movement is empowering not just talk like that, but thoughts like that. That that group over there, they'll never understand us. So we're not even going to try. We're just going to separate ourselves from that group.
And honestly, what I've been hearing always is I watched Chelsea Handler documentary on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
And it's about white supremacy as well. And she went and attended a class in some university, and it was a bunch of kids from different backgrounds, Hispanic, Black, and they had a teacher there, and she was attending, and they were all kind of like saying their stories and their lives, etc. And then one girl got up and spoke directly to her, and I think she said something like, "You don't understand me. You don't know my story. You don't know my pain. Blah blah blah." But I get you. I mean, each person experience is totally different. And unless you are going to sit and have a conversation about it, I'm never going to get you, or you're not going to get me. And it's also not my fault that you've experienced what you've experienced in your life. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
can only
exactly.
try and understand you. That's it. Let's move on, and let's not fixate on that. It kind of feels like a rope around their neck. Like, I know their history. I know what happened to them. I understand. Um, they've most of them succeeded in, achieving so much success in their lives, different kinds of jobs and education, and they're amazing. You know what I mean? Everyone is amazing, but I'm saying people should not fixate on what happened, and let's just move on. Let's just move forward. That's the only way. If you're going to keep thinking about it, the other way around, what's going to happen now is, remember how it was in the States before? How black people couldn't come into a restaurant or sit in in a public bus or whatever. It's going to be the other way around in the future.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Well,
like
that's
what's
what
happening in South Africa right now.
that's
I mean,
that's what's happening.
yeah.
Apparently, there are a number of colleges and universities that have decided to have a supplemental black only graduation ceremony. Why would you segregate yourselves? This makes no sense to me.
A lot of companies and institutes are going out of their way to show support, which I think in that way, if it's done that way, it's not the right thing to do, Yes, we believe in diversity. Yes, we believe in equality, and people should just be people. Americans are all Americans, regardless of where they come from. You guys are all immigrants anyways. This is not your country, you know what I mean? Like, um
Well, I got one for you. Well,
shoot.
all of us are people of color. Every single
Yes.
person.
Yes,
All.
exactly.
We
Yes.
all have our roots in Africa. Everybody.
Yes. And guess what, Mark?
Huh.
We're not of this planet either. So,
This is true. This is very true.
yeah,
We're just on a
exactly.
journey.
We're merely inhabiting these bodies for
Right,
a short period of time.
right,
That's
right.
it. When you think about it that way, is it really worth all of this hassle? No.
No,
Just
it's not. It's not.
try and be in peace.
I never, one of the things that I've studied in history and world history, and one of the things that I've studied in psychology and therapy is the idea of mass hysteria. And
Oh, yeah.
to me, it was always something that was far removed, something that happened
We're
way in the
living
past.
in it now.
We're living in it
Hello.
now.
Yes.
So I don't have an answer for why this is happening. I mean, a lot of it is fear. I mean, you're a lot of blacks are being taught that the whites will never understand you and will never give you what is due, and 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 that because they won't, you will never achieve anything, which is that has. If you're trying to tell me that Black Lives Matter, why are you teaching people that they're not going to achieve anything without the white man? That's demonic.
Yeah.
And then you have, and then you have, the group B. They're being taught that man, yeah, you're white, you're evil, you are. There's no redemption for
You
you.
have it all.
It's all about fear. It's all about we're never going to achieve what we want to achieve. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you as a human being, and I'm telling you as a therapist, and I'm telling you as a child of God, bullshit. We can achieve
Yeah.
what we want. Like you said, there are limits. There are some things that we can't
Yep.
do. But we can
Yep.
achieve our dreams. All of us can. Every single person I know who's gone on to become something, regardless of color, regardless of creed, regardless of background, regardless, they did it because they believed in themselves.
Yeah.
They did it because they took the reins. They took the agency.
Yep. And I mean, as a Middle Eastern woman in this day and age, we are taught that there are so many limitations for us living in a country that's not really my country. Oh, you're never going to be something, you're not going to achieve anything, how are you going to travel? You have an Egyptian passport, you're never going to get anywhere, but that's not and was never my mentality. And I always say, you have to work hard to achieve what you want to achieve. But you need to set a goal and you have to see it in your head. And I want to tell you something, Mark. I'm 30. 20 years ago, sorry, 10 years ago, I envisioned the life I'm living right now. And I'm living it. I envisioned it. I worked hard for it. It's not by wishful thinking. I spent hours working on myself. I've suffered with, I faced anxiety, self-doubt, everything that, we've talked about this for so many years. It's possible. I've been so many places with my passport as an Egyptian, Muslim woman, Middle Eastern, with my parents, whom I didn't change. I just changed their mentality. I just said, listen, guys, I'm living with you here. I need my space. I need 1, 2, 3. I started a conversation. I'm not saying it's easy for everyone. I'm just saying you have to give it your all. If you don't, then what are you doing really?
Beautiful. Well said.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
one rider to that, one comment. You
Sure,
didn't
go.
change your parents' mentality. They changed it. And they
They did.
did it because of your influence, because of
Yes.
their love for
That's what I
you,
meant.
because of
Yeah.
their love for you.
Yeah.
Which circles back to everything that we've been saying. That we help each other to grow and to
And
change.
to grow. Yes.
And if you're receptive, you're
Yeah.
receptive. Hallelujah. And if you're not, oh well, then I guess you never stop trying. You never stop trying to offer somebody redemption. You never stop trying to help someone to grow. That's what I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they say
That's
no, okay, well then put most of your efforts someplace else. Because you have such a solid relationship with your parents, it worked for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying it's going to work for other people. I'm just saying you get to a certain age in your life, you're an adult, you have to make your own choices. If this doesn't work for you, find another way around. Leave if you must leave. I mean, there's no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of you figuring it out yourself. But if I listened to all these people limiting me since I was a little girl, I would have never achieved anything. I'm not saying I reached where I want to reach. I'm just saying that I've learned so much and I'm still learning every day. And I think I'm learning from you. I'm learning from every single person. Like, you
Right.
constantly add things to your personality, to your belief. You know what I mean? And then you become your own version of yourself. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. You're staring now, Mark.
I'm thinking that we pretty much said all that we need to say.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I actually feel really good about this conversation.
I do too. You're amazing, Nada. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
So
wonderful,
fun.
Mark. You're welcome. Afwan, anytime. We should do
So,
this again.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye to the good folks here, but don't go off because I don't want to
Bye, folks.
stop talking to you. I just want to say to everybody, what is it? What is that? Oh yeah, peace, peace, 4 fingers. There you go. Peace.
Peace.
You can be part of this. I apologize that I haven't been keeping to a schedule. I've had technology problems. I've had family issues. I'm working on this. I think once I get to 10 conversations, I think I'm just going to post them all over again every day. See if I can boost
Nice.
my ratings and my algorithm for my ratings. But anyway, thank you, Nada. And I wish everybody the best. And I am going to stop recording right now. Peace.